So it turns out there's a pretty big difference between world building for a novel and world building for a game. This is advice specifically for role-playing games. Many of these games have currencies that players can accrue and cool stuff they can buy. And while I don't love accounting as a game mechanic, it's potentially very fun. It means the players can save up treasure and then spend it on something they individually care about. And lots of GMs who like world building go a step further and outline a whole economy. Here's where the trade routes go. This village mines copper. That station builds warp drives. This guild makes healing potions. All this is great. I love it. But time and again, I've seen it break down when it comes time to actually buy something. There's two problems that come up so often. Either the players want to buy something but can't get the money, even after playing for quite a while, or they have plenty of money and nothing to buy. I see the first most often in games like D&D where the books outline some pricing for you, but the only way to get money is treasure granted by the GM. And sometimes the GM just doesn't give it out much. This is usually just an oversight. Most GMs have a plan to give out treasure just as soon as the party completes this arc or that quest. Plus they might hand out a few coins here and there, but they really don't want those little piles of money to affect the power balance, so they're careful to keep them too small to really matter. And then the quests always seem to drag on longer than anyone expects. But the players stick it out. And 8 months of gaming later, they finally get a proper pile of gold. But the GM didn't actually have a plan for how much the pile should be. The world building isn't that detailed, so they just pick a number. And it sounds impressive enough, but it has to be split between everyone, and maybe some of it goes to fixing the spaceship or resurrecting the party members or whatever. And all the while, the poor rogue has been dreaming of buying, let's say, an invisibility cloak. It was in a shop early in the campaign with a ridiculous price tag, and everyone else has probably forgotten, but not him. He's never spent a single copper. He's picked every pocket, stolen every trinket he could get his grubby mitts on. But now, 8 months of real-life time into the campaign, they finally got their big payout, and all he can feel is disappointment. He's not even halfway there, and now he knows he never will be. It's a miracle the game lasted this long. There's just no way. So he talks to the GM, and the GM is cool, so they're all, "Oh, sorry man, of course you can have the cloak. In fact, everyone gets a magic thing, and level up too." And that's cool, but it's not the same. Because it's not about power levels, it's not even about getting the cloak, it's about the journey, the story, the sacrifice, and the payoff. The money was supposed to mean something, and then it just didn't. Or, similar but different story, the GM again didn't have a plan for how much the pile of gold should be, so they just pick a number. And it's a big number. And now the party never needs gold again. The rogue gets a cloak for every day of the week. The party has a fun night at the tavern, throwing ridiculous amounts of gold at the serving maids. It's an awesome session, everyone feels great. And treasure is kind of meaningless after that. If they happen to find some, well, they might as well take it, but it's not exciting or interesting. And the GM notices nobody is excited about the treasure anymore. There must not be enough, so the next chest has 10 times the amount. Nope, still no reaction. Because it was never about the amount. There's nothing to reach for, so the money doesn't mean anything. The moral of the story is pretty simple. If accounting like this is part of your world and game, plan out some concrete prices. Make sure no matter how much money your players have, there's always some cool stuff they can afford and some cooler stuff they cannot. Don't be afraid to ramp up the prices fast. It's totally reasonable for a slightly more powerful version of a sword to cost 10 times as much as the basic version, and then the next upgrade to cost another 10 times. But then, make sure there are always ways that they can get that kind of money if they want it. Every time they become rich enough to buy the most expensive thing, introduce something more expensive they can dream about next, preferably a bunch of somethings. If they're actively trying to collect money, hand it out often and in amounts that matter. In short, make sure there's always something cool they can't have yet, but also create a feeling of real progress toward it. By the way, if you like tabletop games, I made one! I'm very proud of it. It's called Minions and Madness. A full game takes 2 hours for new players, 1 hour if you've played before. You play as evil geniuses trying to take over the world or maybe destroy it. It's kind of unclear. It's got strategy, resource management, negotiation. It pokes a lot of fun at the story tropes around heroes and villains. If enough people like it, I want to put it on Kickstarter, get manufacturers involved, and make it real. So if this looks fun to you, there's a website in the description. It would mean a lot to me if you took a look. Either way though, thanks for watching, and until next time, toodles.